Rasionalitas agama. Ayat 3, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaikum ni'mati wa raditu lakumul islami dina. Hari ini telah kusempurnakan Islam agamamu.
I used to be a Bible-believing Christian. I used to believe that the Bible was the divine, inspired word of God meant for all people to know God and to know salvation. I believed the Bible was inerrant, it was without contradiction, and that everything in it was directly God-breathed. And then I got to a point in my Christian journey where I realized that I didn't know that I had good reasons for believing that the Bible was true. I realized that I believed in the Bible because my pastor told me that the Bible was true, my church leaders, my Sunday school teacher, and my family. And they presented the Bible to me as a child as something that was true. And I trusted the adults in my life, and so I believed it was true also. Every person gets to a point where they have to question, okay, why do I believe what I believe? And is it rational? Is it reasonable? Do I have good reasons for this? And when I asked myself that, I realized that I didn't have good reasons. That believing something is true because someone else told you without actually doing any research for yourself is not rational or reasonable. And so I went on this journey trying to better understand the Bible, the history, where it came from, why I as a Christian, why we as Christians trusted it. And I concluded at the end of my journey that it's not trustworthy. I don't trust the Bible as the inspired word of God. I think the Bible is a collection of writings over a long period of time by many different authors of different cultures, of different life experiences, of different religious beliefs. And it's a collection of writings from all of these different people put together by other people that wanted it to fit a certain way and wanted us to get a specific message out of it. Because a lot of people have this idea that church is a place where you go to find peace and hope and comfort and a spiritual connection. But I would argue that a lot of churches are using an array of manipulation tactics to keep people under their control. And this could be intentional or not, but I think it is happening, and I think it's worth recognizing, because even people who don't regularly attend church tend to think that churches are existing within this kind of divine spiritual realm where they are exempt from social criticism, and they have the freedom to act the way they act, believe the way they believe. And though that is true to an extent, I think that this keeps a lot of people from closely scrutinizing tactics used in the churches, the way these church leaders are treating the members of their congregations. And so what I want to do is I want to take a look at some very common manipulation tactics and compare it to how people are being treated in the church, especially within the conservative and evangelical churches, and how Christian doctrine is being presented in a way that manipulates people into staying in the church, into staying faithful and never leaving. There are thousands and thousands of people that are leaving the Christian church having these shared experiences of having felt as though they experienced some sort of spiritual abuse that kept them from being able to be authentic, to be themselves, and to think freely. I want to kind of shine a spotlight on this claim that objective moral values come from the Christian God. I want to make the case for why I don't think that morality as defined by Christians is morality. I think that it's something entirely different. And so let's look at it. Let's look at the arguments. Let's unpack it and examine the system. And you decide for yourself if you think that objective moral values could even come from the Christian framework if they existed. So the perspective I want you to consider today is the possibility that Christian morality is not about genuine ethics. It is not about doing what is right or wrong, but it is more centered around obedience, blind obedience to whatever God commands. Within the Christian belief, moral decisions are typically framed as unwavering obedience to the commands of God, doing whatever God says, being loyal and true and obedient to him no matter what he commands, even if it goes against your own reason, rationality, or your own moral code. Is morality about making autonomous decisions based on reasoned judgment of right and wrong? Or is it all about obedience? Is it all about doing whatever God says, even if what God says is typically considered immoral? Does moral value derive from the inherent goodness of certain actions or from the fact that God commands them? Think about the most important aspect of being a Christian. What is it? Obedience. It's obedience. If you said love, you were wrong. It is not love. Most of the Bible is not about love. And in fact, most of the Bible and the Bible stories and the lessons, especially throughout the Old Testament, are about obedience. It is about obeying God no matter what he says, no matter what he does, no matter what position you're in. If he says it, you do it. You follow him wherever he goes. You don't question him. You just do it. You just do whatever he says. Obey, obey, obey. And they say if you are subservient to God, if you are obedient to God, you'll be called great in his kingdom. And so for so many of us, the most important aspect of that Christian faith is to make sure that you're obeying God. The very first story of humanity's relationship with God, Adam and Eve in the garden. What is the moral of that story? What is the lesson? Obey God, do what he says. Because when you go against what he says, he curses you and all of your descendants. He curses all of humanity for your mistake. So that's a pretty big deal. He's making a very clear statement that if you don't do what he says, or if you do what he doesn't say, that you will be punished, that you will suffer immensely. And so to me, the moral of the story with Adam and Eve is obedience. God put a tree in the garden. He tempted them and he said, if you eat from it, you will die. I will kill you. I will kill everyone else. I will curse you and I will make your life miserable. Look at the 10 Commandments. You shall have no other gods before me. I am your number one. Obey me always. Do not obey anyone else.